Hi, hey guys, how's everyone doing? Hope all is well. My name is Carmen. Thank you for joining me for this video. First and foremost, I am plus size and pregnant with twins, twin girls to be exact. And I'm here to just kind of share a little bit about where I am from week 13 up until about week 17, how the babies are doing, how my family's doing, etc. Also, if you haven't seen it, please go check out my previous video of, my first trimester and getting pregnant, things like that. But for now, I wanted to just continue on where I left off. It was a rough go these few weeks, weeks 13 through 16. On May 11th of 2023, we got our nuchal translucency ultrasound scheduled with my high-risk doctor, also known as maternal fetal medicine. And at this point, basically anything they measure the fluid in the back of the baby's necks. At this point, if it's anything less than 2.0, that's rather normal. However, though, when I went, baby A, who's on like my right side, was measuring at 2.0. And then baby B was measuring at 4.2 millimeters, which was double, obviously, the other one, and double what is considered in the normal range. My dad was actually with me. My dad is 81 years old. And I was so glad that he was with me for this because he found out it was twins at that point. He was so excited, like, oh, there's two babies, okay. But after the ultrasound technician or sonographer did her thing, my maternal fetal medicine doctor came in and said, I must say that baby A is looking okay right as of right now, but baby B does have a thick lining. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And so they said that could mean there's different potential birth defects, that the babies could have, that baby B, could have trisomy 13, and then there's two others. I know one is maybe 21 and 18, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But there were three that she was like, we would require further testing to be done to kind of rule things out or in. And I said, okay. It felt like time stood still at that moment for me because I was like, oh no. Like you go into these appointments and you know that they could say that there's something, potentially bad. You also just hope first and foremost when you go in there that like, okay, their hearts are beating. They're alive, I have suffered a miscarriage before in the past and that it's so horrible and just so hard to deal with. So I kind of was like cautiously optimistic ever since that week and finding out. I'm like, okay, well, anything from here, it is what it is, and this is what God's giving me. But so the doctor at the time said you could do a NIPT blood test, NIPT blood test, I believe, where we would then find out what's going on. And from there, though, the main one that diagnostic test that they would do is called the amniocentesis, where they take a needle and it basically goes into the uterus. In my case, it would go into both placentas rather, because I have two placentas. My twins are diamniotic, dichorionic, meaning they have their own sacs. But there is a risk. The risks are low, right? I mean, it's 2023, but at the same time, there's still risk. And in doing so, they put the needle in, they take out some of the fluid in there and they test it. And that's very positive for, very good rating for determining what's going on. I took some time to really think about that. Me and my husband talked about it. Me and my best friend, my sister, we talked about it and we're like, should I do this? Should I risk the health of the babies or one baby, And so we said, well, let's do the blood test. The blood test came back a couple days later and, it shows that there was Down syndrome in the blood and it could be one or both babies. That's what she said to me. And I was like, oh. And it was shocking, of course. It was shocking and upsetting at the time. Not gonna lie, like I had very sad feelings about it. And that's when the doctor discussed something called selective termination of the pregnancy, where we could potentially abort the baby B, but there's risks involved in, complications with baby A, but that's something they can do up to, I believe, 23 weeks, I think it was at the time. And I said, man, that's like almost 6 months. Like, I don't know how comfortable I feel about that. But we kind of wanted to be sure, but we took time, right? We also spoke to the genetic counselor there and said, there's a 90% chance of Down syndrome. And I'm like, okay. But they still asked if I wanted to do the amniocentesis. Me and my husband's plans were like, in doing so, it basically just confirms it even further, right? That a baby B has Down syndrome. And then what? Do we really want to take that risk of aborting that pregnancy? I was not comfortable with that. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here talking about it, but wasn't comfortable with it. I don't think I could live with myself if, I did that. And or if something happened to baby A, as I said, I'm 38. I already have a 5-year-old daughter, but I don't think we would try to get pregnant again. And this is very emotional for us. So we actually came almost to like a place of acceptance. And I'll talk a little more back about that in a minute. But what else? It was up to us at that point, They did say that the genetic counselor, though, then informed me that it's extremely rare for both babies in the die pregnancy to have Down syndrome. It would be extremely rare. And I was like, okay, that was a little more reassuring because, if you're saying one as opposed to two, I felt like that would have been even harder to deal with, to be honest with you, and to live with, and etc. But we would have still trudged on, and these are our babies, and we would have parented them as best as possible. So at least we knew at that point, again, that it's probably not both babies. It's probably baby B. And we're just going to try to have as healthy of a pregnancy going forward. Just to talk a little bit more about other stuff, my weight when I started all of this before getting pregnant was like 222. On May 25th, I was 228, so only a few pounds more. I did feel, excuse me. But then I started really rapidly gaining. Like I really rapidly gained that 13 to 16. I don't know if it was stress or just overeating or whatever, or the baby's growing, etc. And I came up to about 238 pounds. It was a very sharp weight gain amount. And then on June 6th, we got a growth scan done, and that's when we were 16 weeks pregnant. The babies at that point were 6 ounces each, and 6 inches long. So, it just like, you knew, okay, they're growing, and they were both about the same at that point, which is nice because you always worry if one's really like growing exponentially bigger, etc., and the other one's not. And then at 7, and also they didn't note any major heart defects at that time, which was reassuring too, because in Down syndrome babies, heart defects really can be an issue. Conditions that they experience. So hearing that was reassuring as well. And then I started speaking to a lot of moms in the Down syndrome community, different moms from like different associations, different locations. One was in like Maryland, one was in Pennsylvania, one was in New Jersey. And they're just such amazing people. And they started talking to me about their kids and how they're thriving. And you got to just treat them like they're a typical child, as they say, right? And then I'll talk more a little bit as the pregnancy progresses. But I just wanted to kind of update you guys on that and show you that I'm okay and you're going to be okay if you're in a similar situation, or maybe a situation that's you feel like, oh my God, this is insurmountable, but we can get through this. You know, God chose me for this role. So, and I am where I am for a reason. So thanks for following. We'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.